Dumelang bana ba dikgoshi le dikgoshigadi, ke ngwanyanela o rata ke modimo le mangelo ya kere. Welcome to the Kosinkosi podcast,
a brand that stands for all things owning your power. In other words, we have conversations with individuals from different walks of life, understanding that how did you get to the point of owning your true power, and what did you do to get to that point of owning that power? Dumelang. I just came back from work and I just want to say, whoever that tagged Kosinkosi in that video of mine, whoever that sent that video to Kosinkosi, please, I love you so much, because guess what? Kosinkosi we born in a ribono when you romela address. Kosinkosi! Please, I love you so much. Whoever that sent Kosinkosi that video, I love you so much, okay?
Dumelang bana ba dikgoshi le dikgoshigadi, ke ngwanyanela o rata ke modimo le mangelo ya kere. Welcome to the first episode of the Kosinkosi podcast, a brand that stands for all the boss ladies, all things women empowerment, and owning your power. Women fight so many battles on a daily basis, and even the most powerful women you know have had to overcome something. So we not only want to know what happened to you, but most importantly, how have you come to the realization of your true power? And how did you get to the point of owning that power? We believe that confidence is something that is within you. And we also believe that clothing is a big part of that process. And that's why we warn our clients that they will definitely get compliments and stays. In studio today, I've got the most beautiful woman in the country right now. She needs absolutely no introduction, but just in case you've been living under a rock, I'll tell you all about her now. She holds a Bachelor of Commerce degree in Marketing Management, founder and owner of a fashion design company, Miss Globe South Africa 2016, second runner-up in Miss SA 2020, represented South Africa at the Miss Universe 2020 pageant, and currently is our reigning queen, Miss South Africa 2023, Natasha Joubert.
I'm so happy to be here, and it's the first episode, so I feel like it's a surreal moment.
Oh, welcome.
I feel many people don't know, Kosi actually judged me during this year of Miss South Africa, not once. Twice.
I mean, she's a boss herself. There's no way
Twice.
she wouldn't judge.
And let me tell you, when I say twice, it's my lucky, doing things twice, because I did Miss South Africa twice and I won, so twice is the lucky number. So when I knew, of course, you were sitting on that panel for the second time, I was like, okay, this is my year.
This is it. Welcome, Natasha.
Thank
and
you.
I'm sure you've had it, but I just want to say it again. Congratulations.
Thank you.
For being Miss South Africa 2023 and all the other events that built up to this moment.
Thank
because
you.
I knew you had to work your way. So I've just got a question for you. Just please tell me about a time in your life or times in your life where you found yourself at the lowest of lowest, and how did you overcome that?
So I think, there's been a few things in childhood, perhaps, that did make a significant impact, but then also going back to my teenage years and then going into the world of a young adult, which was during the time of Miss Universe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if I can take it back to when I was 16 years old, which obviously you're a teenager, I was grade 10, that was a significant part in my life. And I wouldn't say now that was maybe the lowest, but it definitely was a ground-shaking year that really just turned my world upside down. So my father passed away when I was 16 years old, and I think it was third quarter in school. And I remember just not going to school as often, not writing the tests, and also feeling like this kind of, not ashamed, but feeling like I didn't want pity from everyone around me. I didn't want to have my friends look at me in a certain way or stigmatize me and feel sorry for me.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you just went into a little shell in that moment.
Yes, almost like shrugging it off and being like, no, it's really fine. And up until the point where I entered Miss South Africa in 2020, and I had to start speaking about this significant event that happened in my life, because as a Miss South Africa, you need to be able to relate to the majority of South Africa, meaning throughout the grief, throughout the exclusion, throughout even difficult financial times in your life, struggles, depression, mental health. And I realized, okay, I'm going to for real have to do this. I need to start opening up and actually telling who Natasha really is. Because I think the picture that I was painting on social media back then was going to Australia with Enrico's family, but people not seeing the behind the scenes of doing 3 jobs and saving and really paying everything for myself, and maybe not being able to travel for a long time after that, or getting my first car at 19, but also not seeing that I had to fully finance it myself. It wasn't from my mother. It was an inheritance. And I think it was a misperception, but also one that I was creating for myself. And so I remember I sat down, I was top 10 finalist, and I was the youngest in the top 10, which at that time I was like, age means nothing. Like, I can be Miss South Africa at 22.
You're young and
But now
naive.
reflecting, I'm like, okay, yeah, I did play a part, because I emotionally wasn't as mature as I am now.
Yeah.
I didn't really process these feelings. I didn't really work through them. I didn't take ownership of them.
Yeah.
And I sat there, and the social media guy came to me and he's like, listen, I want to give you a little bit of a brief. So we're doing this documentary style video where you need to just tell us who Natasha is. How did she grow up? Like, brother, sister, mother, father. And I knew, I was like, oh, I was very uncomfortable publicly acknowledging that my father passed, but leading up to that grief and loss was childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Losing our childhood home because my father lost his job and he was unemployed for 3 years before passing. And during that time, I haven't really opened up a lot about it, but he struggled a lot with depression and I would say a little bit of addiction, because he fell into depression for not being able to sustain his family. And I think it takes a lot of pride away from a man.
Granted.
I was 16. I obviously didn't see all the signs. I didn't really realize this is what's happening. And so I sat down and I'm like, this empowered woman now that wants to be Miss South Africa. So you need to be strong. You need to be fearless. And I would literally say, so I have I have 2 siblings, a brother and a sister. I have a mother, and I would say, and my father, and I would start crying.
Oh my God.
And I just couldn't contain my emotions. Do it again. They're like, no, don't stress. We'll do it again. Are you okay? And, I didn't like that pity. And I would do it again, start crying. And I was like, yeah, this is embarrassing. This is becoming to a point where I'm like, am I ready to be Miss South Africa if I really can't speak about a significant thing in my life that made me literally the woman who I am today? Third time around, did it, cried, but cried through it and still spoke. And then I just felt extremely vulnerable. I just felt exposed to the world. I was like, this feels very personal, but I mean, now that I compare the 2 journeys, I speak of it with such, I wouldn't say pride is the word, but with such confidence, because I know I'm not alone.
Yeah. And you've done the internal work. I don't know why you're not mentioning it, but you've done the internal work.
I'm going to definitely get to that one, because that one is like a whole...
You've done the work. You can see a woman that has done the work. You don't have to ask too many questions, but yeah.
But even when I just speak about mental health, I know in this room alone, every single person has a season in their life where they have dealt with it. Maybe not in the same depth or level or same circumstances, but know what it feels like to feel a little bit depressed and that you don't belong. So now coming back to where it's linking. Did Miss South Africa, I ended up second runner-up in 2020, which was great. Reflecting back, I'm really so grateful. Got the opportunity to represent us overseas, which kind of felt like this impossible task. And I had to prove myself to South Africa to say, I wasn't crowned your queen, but I want to be Miss Universe after Zozi. So it kind of felt like this impossible task. But yet I was courageous enough to say, I'm going to be the one representing us. I'm going to fight until the end. And to then get the result of not placing after we've been top 2 every single year kind of felt like this little odd one out, and felt like I wasn't good enough. I mean, it's a normal feeling as a human to say this placement doesn't define me. But when you go unplaced, you're like, was I that bad? Like, I'm South African. Hopefully I wasn't that bad. Like, South Africans always have the spice in them. How did I not know? and you take it personally. You immediately go, did I not speak as well as Ozzy and walk as quirky as Demi? And it was because I wasn't as tall as Samran. You immediately go to comparison. You immediately go to not being good enough. I wasn't good enough for Miss South Africa. Now I didn't even place. Is this even the direction? Why did I dream of becoming Miss South Africa in the first place? I know now when I'm at my lowest and when I struggle, something great is about to come. And genuinely feel like the Lord has proven it to me time and time again. When you think, why me? Why am I going through this? I really do come out stronger. And the reason I'm saying this is I was at my lowest in 2021. South Africa was rooting for me, standing behind me. No one went on social media saying, oh, it's because she didn't sway her hips enough and she's not eloquent enough. And yeah, it's because she doesn't have something different. People supported me. They shown their love, but yet I didn't show love towards myself. So I came back and I felt like I had no purpose. I'm not prepping for this international competition. I'm not prepping for being Miss SA. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with my life. And I was, at that stage, I think, only turning 24. So I fell into depression that August. And you don't just, the next day, okay, I have depression. It was more like not getting up out of bed. Continuously speaking about this trauma of Miss Universe and saying why, trying to find the answers as to why I did not place, why was I not good enough? Everyone going on with their lives and celebrating, and you sit with this question mark. And so I spoke to my best friend. I'm a very verbal person. I'm an extrovert. So luckily, communication for me isn't a hard thing to do. And she said, friend, I really am asking of you, go to my psychologist, do one session. If you don't like it, you don't have to go again. I went to that first session, and I think actually it was like the day of my father's 8-year anniversary of passing. And I sat there, so I was obviously emotional, and it's now universe, I need to process this. But also I didn't have the emotional intelligence to know that this is the process of grief. Grieving a dream of maybe becoming Miss Universe. Maybe grieving the dream of being Miss South Africa, because now I haven't won that. Am I really going to go back? What am I going to say? What am I going to offer? I've already went to Miss Universe. Like, yeah, you just go in this down spiral and you're so young. Have you ever found yourself in a place in your 20s or in your young days as an adult, and you're just like, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Like, I need to turn like 90. Like, there's still a long road to go. What am I going to do if I don't even know what I want to do now? Purpose has always been a really important thing to me. I feel like that's how you live life fully, is when you do something you absolutely love.
Yeah.
And I just didn't have that. Like, the spark died. But why I'm mentioning the psychology sessions, it wasn't just Miss Universe. I was taken back.
To when you were still
a little chokkertjie in
toddler.
kleuterskool.
Yeah.
That's a toddler. And I remember I had to start opening up about losing our childhood home. Even at a point when I was in high school, I would do modeling competitions. And if I win 2,000 Rand, I would borrow the money to my parents, because back then I didn't understand why. Yes, it felt unfair, but I knew my father didn't have a job. And so you immediately become this independent person, but you are still so young. And I had to work through all of that. It wasn't just Miss Universe and Miss South Africa. That was just kind of like the tip of the iceberg, but underneath it was like this mountain.
Yeah.
And I cried a lot. Really, I sat there and I realized I've never gone through the grief of losing my father. And I feel so proud of myself sitting here and being able to talk about it without getting emotional, because I've really claimed that this was a part of my life that will always be there, and for a reason.
Yeah, as compared to when you were being asked to film that little short intro for your entry to Miss South Africa, and you just break down all the time. Now here you are speaking about it like...
No man has ever made me cry that much. Miss South Africa! They bring out a different type of tears. You cry in different tears, and you will tell. Like, I remember even 2020, it's such a eye-opening and humbling experience. It really is, because you have to sit with yourself. And if you can't sit with yourself, you cannot do this daily.
No.
You'll be empty.
Yeah.
Psychology has changed my life. Shortly after, I started with life coaching as well. And at first, I'm like, listen, this breathing is doing nothing for me. Eh? Like my previous, she would be like, sit still. And then we're going to quickly go through this scene in your head. You know, we've all seen those calm ads on YouTube. Now, take a deep breath.
Yo, I quickly scroll past those. I'm sorry.
But I would be like, I'm a committed woman. If I say yes, I'm going to pull through.
Yeah,
so
you're
I
a
was
woman
sitting
of your
there,
word,
like the
so.
first few sessions, I'm like, this lady is delusional. Like, I'm going to go back and there's going to be load shedding and bottles and like we're going back to reality. But I'm coming to my Zen space. When I'm here, it's fine. And eventually, she started even speaking and touching on personality types, like being a red, green, blue, or yellow. And I was like, it's not my thing to me. And it made sense.
Yeah. So, sorry to cut you off. So, as I'm listening to you speak about this whole thing, is it safe for me to say that the Miss South Africa pageant literally forced you to face all of the things that you've been trying to run away from in your life? Because once you entered Miss SA, this is when you really faced your challenges head on. Is it safe for me to say that?
I wouldn't say forced. They definitely create the environment and the safe space to open up and to really step into that power. And I know we discussed this before we came on here, but genuinely when they say empowerment is a big deal to them, and I see why.
Yeah.
It didn't force me, and it wasn't really necessarily during Miss South Africa and Miss Universe. It was that gap in between.
Okay.
Where I tried to it's like a wall being knocked over and you just try and kind of brick it together again and build it, but not really knowing towards what. I didn't really plan doing the psychology going back to Miss South Africa. Like that was never the intention of going. It was just being in a spiral of, I don't even know what I'm going to do in this month. Like, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Another thing, placing our identity in the wrong thing.
Yeah.
For me, it was connecting my worth to winning Miss South Africa.
That's another thing that can take a mental toll on you.
To anyone.
Yeah.
When I came back this time around, I was so persistent and adamant with saying, I'm not here to seek validation. I've given myself approval. Sounds like such a vain, selfish, self-centered thing, but yeah. When you constantly live for the approval of others, you will never succeed. You will never feel content. You will never feel fulfilled. Ever.
Powerful.
And when I wasn't crowned, but when I came third, when I was crowned second runner-up, I was sashed second runner-up. So it's dry humor. We can laugh about it now because now
now you're the queen. Nothing matters. You're the queen now.
Whatever. You know, I've earned my place. And
yes.
I was like, it's not good enough. It wasn't the number one spot. This doesn't mean as much. And really, you can even ask Ntlanda. We sat down afterwards and we knew all three girls were going internationally, regardless who it was. And so I just said, no, I don't want to do this pageant because I'm going as second runner-up. Like, it's not carrying any weight. And I could see them be so shocked. They were like, okay, we love the honesty, but... and I said, it was literally a mindset and perspective change I had to make to say, okay, but I'm going to be that one, the first ever second runner-up to go to Miss Universe after not anyone. Zozivini Tunzi. Shame. They really did push me into the ocean, and I was like, where's the life raft? But I think what I want to say out of that is those pushes and that uncomfortability is necessary.
I really love that you took us through so much that I never imagined that you had to go through all of this. I mean, someone who's been watching you getting crowned from the top 30, they've obviously seen you speak about your story, but not a lot of people have seen the side of you or heard of this side of you. I mean, having to battle depression. I think someone who's sitting at home somewhere is validated over what they're going through, seeing that Miss South Africa herself has had to battle depression. I mean, poverty, people who are in poverty now can look at you and say, wow, I can also own my power as a woman. I can do something and find myself rubbing shoulders with women like yourself one day. And I'm very grateful that you shared this with us, because this is a very vulnerable moment for you. And just before we wrap up, because we're running out of time, I just want you to run us through what you're currently working on now. I mean, just downstairs where we were speaking to Kosi and her husband, we were just talking about your work ethic. Like, anyone that has worked with you is shocked by your level of work ethic.
Thank
You put everything. I mean, even when you were crowned, there's not a single person who was like, no, she doesn't deserve that. Everybody was like, wow,
Thank
the queen is finally here. Because we can see it for yourself in your work ethic, what you stand for, you know. So just please run us through, because I know you're doing a lot. I've read that you're doing quite a lot right now as the reigning queen. Just run us through what you're currently working on right now.
Yeah. So, shame when people do ask me, like, so what do you do as Miss S? I'm like, no, every day is different. Like, I'll have to go back to my calendar and tell you every single day, and it's going to be completely different. But I think I would love to touch on Natasha Joubert Collective, and it's all about education. But I do want to give the backstory behind it, because it did not come out of nowhere.
Sure.
It was very intentional, and I was on a mission when I entered to say, regardless, literally this time, regardless if I win or not, this is something I want to do. So when I was in high school, I obviously did a few pageants here and there, and I would target the ones with a scooter or cash prize, and this one had Boston bursaries, but every single time it would be in like 15,000 Rand voucher, 20,000 Rand, 10,000 Rand. And I would target all those competitions, and I was so serious about them. Like, I was like, no, I need that bursary, because my mother said to me, you either going to work part-time and pay your own studies. And I thought, okay, I'm in any case going to work and study part-time, but let me try and get these bursaries.
Yeah.
So eventually I started off only studying business management, because I only had enough accumulated for 1 year something, and it was the highest certificate that I'd also have, and eventually switched over to a marketing degree when I had more.
Mhm.
And I got my degree, and no one kind of knew, it wasn't trouble, but no one knew the story behind getting this degree. Like, it really took a lot of like effort to get to that little piece of paper I now have behind my name.
Yeah.
And when I entered Miss South Africa, I went back to Boston and I said, I don't think you guys are completely aware what you've done for me indirectly.
Yeah.
Because this wasn't given to me as Natasha. It was whoever won that competition got the bursary. And I said, I am going back to Miss South Africa, and I'm extremely fortunate at going back to Miss SA. I already had quite a following, so I could feel like I could offer something to Boston back. You weet, like, to them it was like, okay, cool, we'll give it, but then, you know, how do we, not a trade exchange, but like, how would you then acknowledge Boston gave these bursaries, which makes sense. And I said, no, regardless if I win or not, this will be something that I'll give Boston credit to, but I want to do this for learners who are financially excluded.
Yeah.
So I went in with, it was only 10 bursaries at the time. Never really spoke about it. It was arranged before I entered. And then I started speaking about it in Miss SA and saying, like, listen, I've been working on this, but I wanted to come back to Miss South Africa and say, I'm not going to give them, this is what I want to do as Miss SA. I was coming back and saying, this is what I've already started. And regardless if I win or not, I'm going to pull this through. But should I win, I'm going to make it.
Make it happen.
I'm going to not even double, triple. I'm going to times it by 10.
Yeah.
So now we actually informed 31 students on I don't even know what days it is. I think it was Monday, that they got these bursaries.
Yo.
And I'm doing a second part with Hyperion Death and ASUS, where we do bursaries for the tech space. So everything IT. So definitely a lot of passion towards knowing what those students feel like and almost feeling like you're ending off high school and don't have the means to really do something beyond what you have. Like,
Yeah.
yes, you can go work at a part-time job, build experience, but to have that education behind your name or the information behind your name does give you a foot in the door.
Yeah.
So I'm very busy with that. Very passionate
I
about
really
that.
have to commend you on that one because tuition fees are such
it's
a big
ridiculous.
struggle in
It's-
our
it's-
country.
it's so
so
expensive.
bad. And I'm so grateful that you're using your course towards something like this. There's a lot of people that still need to be funded to further their studies. I mean, that's just another part of empowering the girl child and obviously not
Yes.
leaving the boy child out of that. But a lot of people really need that. And thank you so much. We're grateful for your course.
Well, I'm going to continue afterwards. So
Please.
they're not going to be like, she's not the current anymore. I'm going to...
No. Lastly,
See, I'm going to seal the deals now so that when afterwards, I'm just going to keep them accountable.
Yeah, please stay with me. Lastly, if you were to be a dish and you were to serve yourself on a plate, what would you have on your plate and why?
Slow cooked oxtail with potatoes and carrots.
You know what I was thinking when I was coming here?
And mash.
You know what I was thinking on my way here?
Easy.
I was thinking, Miss Essay looks so good. She's like oxtail falling off the bone. That's what I thought to myself.
No. I like potatoes. Starch is my life and meat. Red meat in particular. And I do not like veg and salad. I hate it when people are like, what salad do you want? I'm like, yeah, I don't eat salad, but I'll have the potato wedges or that would be it. And in like specifically, my grandmother makes a stew, oxtail stew. That one.
Love it.
It's a must. Or you even South African if you don't do starch and meat.
Yeah. Love
Debatable.
it. Natasha, I'm really happy to have you in studio today. And I'm shocked at how on brand you are because you rocked up in a Kosi design. Hello?
Full on. And
you did not miss.
I took the opportunity as soon as I could. But I see a Kosi dress also when I
listen. It's Valentine's today.
You are,
and we did not.
You're dressing the part. I want to know what date you are being taken on. Listen, you can go just like this.
I can just rock up to someone's house, someone's son's house right now, and it's on. Yeah, but unfortunately, I'm single. Anyway, if you were to be a
I'll
cocktail,
make a deal. I'll even pay the labola for the man and tell them that's just.
Are you listening? Guys, stop sleeping on yourself. Miss Essay can help you pay my lobola.
Because Ntlanla paid mine. Because Enrico has been taking 9 years to propose.
Really?
So, yeah, we got that out of the way.
Anyway, if you were to be a cocktail, what ingredients would you be in that cocktail and why also?
B&G. Hands down.
Bonang.
What's life without B&G?
Champagne, darling.
En klits vir jou, hoor. Halfway in, you're like, cheap date. Halfway in, you're like, this is a full can. Halfway through, like, That's an incredible sponsor, won't lie.
But Bonang is literally on brand with that B&G.
That lady knows what
she's exactly who she thinks she is.
That woman, I learned so much from her and I really look up to her work ethic and how, she's just so hardworking. But cocktail-wise, B&G and... I feel like I would do ingredients that don't suit one another. It's just things I like. Like separately, I like B&G, but then I also love amarula. But then I also like strawberry daiquiri. So like you can't mix all of them. Maybe like a B&G strawberry spritzer. I don't know.
You're not an easy woman to please because I'm thinking, where does that all link up?
What cocktail would you be? I want to hear this now.
Ooh.
I want to see. As soon as you throw that question back, they're like,
I would literally be a mimosa because...
Okay, wag. Let me answer. We cut that out. I'm kidding. Let's be mimosa together.
I would be a mimosa because in my head, I'm like, I just have to call it a mimosa for me to drink it in the morning. Champagne in the morning.
You know what?
That for me is like
I'm going on that
revolution.
bandwagon. Promise we we drink responsibly. But
We do.
I have to really commend you for acknowledging there's no wrong time for champagne.
Yeah.
Because somewhere we are celebrating something.
Champagne, darling.
Whether
there's
it's
always time.
Valentine's, someone's wedding, someone's birthday.
Champagne, darling. In
You
the
can always
words of
cheers to
Bonang.
it.
In the words of Bonang Matiba, champagne, darling.
Yes. So mimosa is great. Actually, I'll get the oranges and even hand press them, like
Listen,
just to make it seem healthy,
The
so
whole
people
9
don't
yards.
think we only sip champagne.
we can
in the
make
morning.
it a big event to make mimosas.
So we are mimosas, if
Yeah.
you guys were wondering. In the afternoon, evening, amarula. But yes.
Thank you so much, Natasha, for hanging out with me today. And thank you for watching the first episode of the Kosi podcast. And we hope to see you soon. And yeah.
Thank you for having me. What a privilege to be on the first ever episode. I'll be back. I'll invite myself back.
Please come back. We want to have more of you because, there's a lot we need to learn from you. Thank you so much.